give you what Rev is gonna give you, what Ben is gonna give you, what all three are gonna give you. The Big D. Chico's gonna give you what Rev is gonna give you, what Ben is gonna give you, what all three are gonna give you. The Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising two cups and with shield. The knowledge is so real for a trio so true to representing the gray, red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you can't deny. So just one time, let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what Rev is gonna give you, what Ben is gonna give you, what all three are gonna give you. The Big D. Chico's gonna give you what Rev is gonna give you, what Ben is gonna give you, what all three are gonna give you. The Big D. Soccer podcast? Huh.
Hey folks, welcome to Big D After Dark. I'm doing our little intro live just to say after a tough result at home, a 2-2 draw, there were certainly some positives that we'll talk about, some ugly stuff that we'll talk about, work for this team to do. We're glad you're joining us tonight. Send in your comments, your questions. Let's get to it. Let's talk about what FC Dallas needs to do going forward. Thanks for joining us here at Big D After Dark. And there we are. We are live. Welcome to Big D After Dark, everyone. Just so excited to have you this evening on May 24th. We have a lot of FC Dallas. We have some North Texas SC to talk about. We've had a full week of action, and yeah, it didn't go maybe the way we wanted, but we'll get to that. We're just excited. Welcome there in the end. Our buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. On Twitter. Hey. And also with us is Tommy Smith at Tom_FC Dallas. That's right? I got it right. Off the top of my head.
LaBeouf.
Yeah. Tommy LaBeouf. Yeah, thank you. I did that last time, and I remember thinking your account says one thing. All right, Tommy LaBeouf.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Got that. Thank you for correcting us. Hey, welcome to everybody who's watching. 6 viewers already. This show depends on your comments. So we're going to get the conversation rolling, and we want to hear your reactions from FC Dallas's home draw against Real Salt Lake on Saturday, 2-2. It was a game where we saw FC Dallas improve. They were aggressive offensively. They scored goals. They came back. They showed fight and determination after going down by a goal, but some defensive lapses kind of spoiled the 3 points. The team wasn't happy. The team took some positives, and I think fans should take some positives. But yet, you got to win your games at home. So we're going to talk that. We'll talk a little bit later about North Texas SC. They lost 2-1 against Toronto in Arizona. Weird. But we also have 2 clips. We'll hear from Ryan Hollingshead after the game and from Lucci from post-game comments. So some good stuff for you this evening. So let's get right to it. Jose, we'll start with you. What's something good? What's something ugly from this match for you?
Well, I mean, the bad is I'll give you the bad because that's the easy part, is the continuous breakdowns that we see. Unfortunately, Matt's the last guy I would think of, having mistakes happen, and yet there he was, making the 2 biggest mistakes of the match. Any other defender, we would all be like, he needs to go to the bench, And in this case, it's like, wow, I'm just stunned that it would be Matt. You have to wonder if maybe he's not really 100%, and that has something to do with it. Maybe it was the field conditions, but that was it, really, just the continuing lapses on defense, where Dallas gets punished for those lapses. And of course, at the same time, the other coin of that is where the other teams had lapses themselves, but FC Dallas doesn't punish them, even though the attack looked much better. And really, that's my positive, is the attack looked like what we would hope it would look like. I mean, they were all over the place. I forget how many shots they had on goal, but it was something like 29 attempts or something like that. It was pretty high. And I know at least 10 of them were on goal. So, I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want to see from this team, especially at home. And I think they played with a sort of fire and aggressiveness that I was complaining they didn't have against Houston when they played Houston. We were like, where was that fire and that urgency to win? It was there, but again, the final product wasn't what we're hoping for. And really, you got to think that the fans are, if they're not already in full panic mode, they're getting there.
Tom, what about you?
Well, I think, as Jose said, the not good enough here and there was really the stinker. I keep on asking myself, after that goal went, I know I could hear on the radio, listen to the radio broadcast, Sean's coming in, the guy that's from Hungary. And after we scored, I was like, if I'm the coach, I'm bringing in a defensive player, not Sean. And they still brought on the Sean. And then I don't think they brought on Cirillo. But, I'm sure Lucci's thinking to himself, but, you had Nelson on the bench. You could bring Nelson in and move Hollingshead up a little bit and have more of a defense presence after going up and secure that game. I know he already brought his center defender in when Martinez went down, so he didn't have that to come in. But you had Nelson, who had been fresh and a much better defender. That second goal all started because Sean was off of his opponent. The guy got to cross him because he was way off of him. He wasn't even marking him close. And at first I was like down on Hedges as myself, and Hedges had that bad play, and but on the second goal, if you watch clearly, when he goes to serve it in, Sean did get a foot on it. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it kind of made a weird deflection, and it came out a perfect lob in the middle. And I think Hedges was seeing the ball going the other way, and it deflected off his foot and went toward, so it was kind of like, I don't know if it was necessarily bad marking. It was just a luck play. And if you go back to the first goal, I kind of look at, that philosophy we have of playing out in the back. It hasn't necessarily brought us more goals in the last 3 years. The only thing it's done is made a lot of risky passes, almost scores for the other team, and then when I watched this goal, the first goal, is that, Acosta had the ball going negative to Hedges, and he gives him a lolly, pass. And the guy, right when the ball gets him, the defender's right there, and all Hedges could do was whack it right into Acosta's back. And then, Hedges kind of lollygags, kicks it again. And, that's just not good enough, guys. We never used to do that under previous coaches. We always cleared the ball. We didn't invite pressure, and passing in the final third. We always kicked it up. Remember when we used to yell that word that everybody used to get mad at, I'm not at vulgar stuff, but we used to, my point is that we used to kick the ball up in the air. We didn't play a risky ball. Yeah. And I'm not sold on that philosophy that we have about playing out the back. If they're not going to defend us, play it out the back. That's fine. But if they're going to press us, no, let's just kick the ball deep. So that's my bad takeaway. But my good takeaway is, and I think this is a reason for optimism, is Paxton Pomykal. He came in the game, and his little pass to Hollingshead is another. He's got an assist. In the little minutes that he's played this year compared to last year, he's got 2 assists. Now, the one question I have is that, his minutes doesn't seem to be like equal each game. Like some games he's playing 30 minutes and some games he's playing less. Paxton is our guy, right? I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's the talent, the playmaker, the one playmaker that we have on the team that everybody's calling Mr. USA in the future too. And my question to Lucci would be is, like when I play FIFA and I play games, I'm bringing in my super sub. I'm bringing him when I want him to play. I'm not bringing him for 15 minutes. If he can play 30 minutes last week, why did he play 30 minutes this week? I mean, is it, the clock's on the screen? As a fan, I want to know, why do we always bring him in so late? I mean, I think that's a valid question.
It's a valid question. I think it's the question that the pressure is going to build on going forward, because he is a difference maker. And now in a couple of minutes, we're gonna hear from Ryan Hollingshead in the post game. Ryan got his first goal of the season. Congratulations to him. And I mean, I think he sensed it too, that Paxton's a really important player to this team. So yeah, it's one of those questions. I mean, Paxton is coming off a big time surgery, so maybe it's just they're not going to be in any rush. He's a valuable asset. We've got time. There'll be minutes to play ahead, especially if we see some of the call ups and things happening. So yeah, but it's a good question, right? And Shun is a decorated player.
It's Shun.
Yeah. We're all trying to figure it out. I saw an article that there's some disagreement about how to say his name, right?
Okay.
I want to kind of add on that. Cirillo and Shun were both supposed to come in.
Right.
But there was a delay, and it was almost like 2 or 3 minutes before they could get in.
Hmm.
And,
But he was on the field when they scored the second goal.
Well, yeah.
So he.
I believe Cirillo. No, I believe Cirillo was. They were going to try to bring him in, but the goal scored, and then they opted not to bring him in because.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the goal was scored before they could put him in to prevent the score. If I remember correctly, what happened? It was kind of weird.
Lucci mentioned that in the post game. Yeah.
But after the score, I'd bring in Cirillo.
Yeah. I also want to say that I agree with Tommy on Paxton coming in late, and that's actually been a general complaint of mine for all the games, is that Lucci has been waiting really, really late to bring in subs. You have the potential to bring up to 5 subs. You would think with the kind of team that we have, with the players fighting for positions, you'd bring in players earlier when you can have that many substitutions. But Lucci's waiting until there's less than 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes before he brings in significant substitutions. And I just feel that if you do that, if you're going to do that, it doesn't allow these players time to get their feet wet and get used to the game and the flow of the game. At least not early in the season. I could see it maybe later in the season after everybody's, in form. But this early in the season, I mean, like Tommy's saying, give him 30 minutes, give him 25 minutes. This 18, 15, 12 minutes of game time, especially for most, not just Paxton, but, for everybody else. He's been consistent about giving them very few minutes to the reserves. And I think, I don't know if he's trying to get the full starters into form first and then worry about the reserves. But
I think definitely I read into it is that they're trying to keep Paxton from getting injured. But if he's playing 30 minutes, why not start 30 minutes and try to get a goal and lead? Because the rule of thumb is the first one to score wins, right?
He's doing that to all the reserves. All the reserves are getting very few minutes when they come in. In every match, he's waited till the very end to bring in the reserves. Especially when you have someone struggling where you're like, hey, that guy should have been, out, after the first half, he was having such a bad game. And you're not seeing that. You're not seeing those kind of, get that guy out of there and bring in somebody else. No, let him struggle. And then with 10 minutes to go in the game, we'll remove him. By that time, it's too late.
I really believe a guy like Hara up top needs a playmaker. And I don't know that Ricarte is the best we have, but he's not the same position as Paxton. And I'd like to see more of Paxton and Hara together, more minutes.
Ricarte had 7 key passes in this match.
Okay.
So he's not. I want to say he's a pure playmaker like Paxton is, but he is capable of. He is a capable playmaker. He's just not a, where Paxton's close. He's an 8, but he's close. He's like an 8-10 hybrid.
Yeah.
Where Duarte is more of a 8-6 type.
But I would just like to see more Paxton and Hara together. I think that's what Hara needs, and I'm not down on Hara at all. I think Hara is
I want
great.
to see more Paxton Ricardo together is what I want to see. And
Okay.
I think if you have both of those guys out there, I think that'll really open up defenses because, they like to hack whoever's got the ball in the attack for Dallas, and this kind of gives Dallas options.
I thought Teslin's been really, really good, though. I mean, and not that I want Paxton
he
to sit
played
the bench,
differently. He was deeper in this game. He was definitely deeper.
And he was better deeper. He was better.
For young players, it seems to me, and I think it's something I've seen from watching MLS, and I think for teams to bring along young players, like I think we saw the same with Reggie and Brian and Eddie. And I wrote the article and asked Eddie the question this week on the site on Big D Soccer. But I think you have a new player come in, and it's better if you have them a little more reserved because they can see the field in front of them and then kind of keep the game in front of them. So yeah, like Tanner, something going on there. But Tanner, with the game in front of him, it's a little easier to pick your spots, to pick when to get forward, to cover the back line. But let's shift over to Hara because this has been the lightning rod conversation, and I don't think I think it's still a hot topic, even though Hara at least got a penalty scored, but he also missed some chances. At least one chance. It's like you just got to bury that if you're a $3 million a year striker at MLS. You got to bury.
Yeah, I saw one where he slipped. It was a gimme goal, and I got to guess he's played in rain before, but he didn't have. I mean, the slipping was. He had another shot that hit. It seemed like he was slipping when he shot. I like Hara. I get the criticism, but I think it's been overall just the team needs to play better, and it could explode.
Yeah, definitely. Like one thing you have to say, especially in a game like this, he worked his ass off. Like he worked his butt off out there for the team. I will never fault him for his effort and his ability to be in the play. And he can do some great hold-up play and things. His speed is just not there, I think, sometimes to do what the team wants. Yeah, he definitely worked hard, and he deserved that goal. He deserved to come away with something, and I was hoping it would open the floodgates. But yeah,
he's no Christian. Come on, I would say that. But the other one we're not talking about, who's kind of been out of the sight because he's been injured, is Ferreira. We'll have to see what his role will be. I'm sure he will also be brought back very slowly. And we got Pepe, and I love Pepe. He's just a young kid, but. I would like to see more service in the box, and we saw a good game. From what I understand, there was a lot of shots, and so it was a good game Saturday. It's just very unfortunate.
I was happy that how Hara played after he got that PK. I actually saw some urgency from him, some real fire that I don't think we've seen, that late into the match. We've seen it early in games, and then very little after that. And I'm thinking that maybe he hasn't been, fully fit, and now we're starting to see him. Okay, so he's not gonna be, his speed isn't gonna improve, but if he can keep being aggressive for an entire match, it makes a big difference. Instead of playing hard for 30 minutes and then not playing hard the rest of the match, he really did go hard after that PK, and I mean, I was happy to see it. I'm sad he didn't get a second goal. It would have been, great. But it gives me hope that if he can play like that going forward, that good things will start to happen.
Yes, I agree.
And there's our appearance tonight from Drogo, the official Big D After Dark mascot. Right there's Drogo. So should increase our viewership count.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to the post-game comments. We're going to have one from Hollingshead and then one from Luchi Gonzalez in just a little bit. Let's start with Hollingshead. And I asked him about two players. I asked him about Paxton, about what it's like to have Paxton come in, and kind of what Paxton brought to the game, because it definitely, as we've talked about, the game changed when Paxton came in. And then I asked him about Eddie Munjoma and just working across from him and how he's seen Eddie grow. And I appreciate that Ryan was pretty transparent about the game, about the mistakes, and what this team needs to do. So let's listen to Ryan right now.
Yeah, I think Paxton's a big part of this team, a big piece of this puzzle, and his body has been struggling. He's been trying to be healthy and stay healthy, and so he's just not able to give us too much time right now, which is a bummer and honestly a detriment to the team. But man, he's doing everything he can, and he's fighting to get back into that starting lineup and fighting to be able to go 60, 75, and then eventually 90 minutes, and so. Man, he's coming on and bringing a spark. The kid's a good player, and we need kind of that creativity in the final third. And so, man, having him on my side has been a joy. Just being able to have him hold the ball up a little bit more, allow me to kind of get in behind and make those runs in behind, and stay a little bit wider. He's good at kind of pivoting in the midfield and kind of being more withdrawn and a little bit more of like a false winger, which allows me to get out wide. And so. Man, I'm proud of him. He's not obviously happy about the injuries that he's been dealing with and wants to be at full capacity, and he's getting there, man. He's getting there. But we got to keep pushing him, and he's got to keep pushing himself too, because for a guy like that, he needs to not be okay with not starting. He's got to want to be in the starting lineup and be pushing to do so. And so hopefully it'll happen sooner than later. For a guy like Eddie, man, so proud of him. He's grown a little bit each game, which is what we're asking of him. And his kind of base defensively has been solid, and now it's trying to kind of encourage him and give him the confidence to go forward. And you see that kind of coming out more and more each game. And it's not one of those things that's just automatic and it happens overnight. It's going to take him a little bit of time, but I think he's doing well with his chances. And so, there's not really fingers to point. Everybody needs to be better. For Eddie, he's doing well, and he still needs to be better. He still needs to be more clinical in the attack. He still needs to be better in his positioning. For guys like Paxton, he still needs to be better. We still need more out of him. He needs to close down guys quicker defensively, especially. I think the cross came in off of a deflection off his foot, which is how they tied the game up. So, and I need to be better. So it's everybody, and you see a lot of kind of positives there, but still. We need to be better if we're gonna start stringing some wins together.
We need to be better. I mean, I liked Ryan pointing to a little bit of sort of his ability to play as a false winger when Paxton comes in, what Paxton does to the movement, but also acknowledging too. I appreciated him kind of calling out Eddie there. That's what I didn't go back and look at it closely yet, that play, because in the run of it just looked like it was just a cross and it just like Matt misjudged it. But I don't know if it came off Shun or if it did come off Eddie, as Ryan said. But a tough.
Yeah, there was a deflection. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there was a deflection. Yeah, I mean, what'd you all hear from Ryan that gives you some comfort going forward, some energy going forward for this team? Jose?
Yeah, just go ahead, Jose.
Well, I don't know. I think he was just saying the right things. There's not much I think you can say to really give us comfort, other than, I think he's encouraging the players that were out there, and he's trying to be a leader and show them that, he supports them and the team supports them. Maybe they didn't play as well as they could, but in reality, some of these players are going to get better. Paxton just simply needs to be able to get fit enough to get more time out there. We all know it. Everybody knows it. That if we can get him to be a starter, or even start up one half of a match, it's a big deal for the team. It's a big headache for the defenses, and we all know that he can be a difference maker for this team. Munjoma, he had a very uneven match. Yes, he went forward more this match than we've seen him all season. But he didn't really have too much to show for that. And at the same time, he did that at the cost of helping out the defense, where he only had like 2 defensive actions the entire match. You know, he had no key passes, nothing that would tell you that he had a great or good offensive match, just from the eye test, from seeing him out there going forward, pushing forward. And that comes down to knowing when to make the run and you know, being able to time his runs with Hollingshead and you know, one makes a run or they both make a run or when to run back on defense. That's going to take a long time for him to get all that down. And it's just we're just going to have to take the lumps with him. And you can see where he has a ton of potential, but it's all just potential right now. And at some point it'll click. I mean, you know, remember Cannon, I remember his first season. It's not like it clicked right. He clicked right away. I don't remember him having a spectacular first season. And when he was finally given the job, there were still questions about whether he would be able to handle it. You know, Munjoma is doing it with less run-in time than Reynolds or Cannon got. So, you know, I think that's what he's saying. It's like, hey, these young guys, he's trying to show them the team backs them and supports them, and so their heads won't fall down and think, you know, and they revert. Because that's really any lumps that this team suffers at their behalf. I mean, it's just something you got to take. Eventually, it'll pay off down, you know, in the second half of the season, hopefully. What were you going to say, Tommy?
I was going to say, you know, Ryan tells it like it is, and Ryan's great. I mean, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. I mean, I think we can, you know, I was asking about why Paxton, so maybe we don't know everything, you know, but, you know, I assume that, you know, he played 30 minutes, he walked off the field, that he didn't get hurt, you know, but we don't know how he felt the next day and what's going on behind the scenes for his recovery. So that could have some things into it. But if he's not injured, I would hope that coach would play him at least the same amount every game, you know, not 10 minutes, you know. So, but Ryan is right. I mean, he doesn't sugarcoat it. They got to be better. And one thing I didn't mention earlier, you know, it wasn't the fact that Hedges played it back. It was more. It could have been more on Acosta sending him a lollygag ball. And then I thought Mara should have got a hand on the ball. Mara was in the right position, and I didn't find it to be an overly hard shot. And I thought Mara should have got a hand on it and deflected that. I thought that was a very soft goal. I mean, it was a great shot, you know, but I expect the keeper to get a hand on that shot. That's my 2 cents.
Now that you mentioned that, though, I think some of us were wondering if Mara was even 100% for this match. You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
He's kind of thrust into action.
And your third stringer, your backup and your third stringer are both injured. I mean, you had no choice. If he was the only one that's capable of going out there, even though he probably wasn't 100% either. And I think he looked a little tentative, and I wasn't the only one who commented on that.
Watch that shot again and text me and let me know what you thought. I thought he looked tentative on the dive. I thought he should have got a hand on it. Yeah, that's a great point.
I think so too. I don't think he was 100, and you know, it'd be tough to throw Shuttler in there to start. I mean, it could have been worse. But yeah, Mara just really, you know, usually when he's 100%, or maybe even 90%, he influences the game in some ways. You notice him there. You notice his presence. You notice his leadership, his decision making, and he was just he was there. But he was kind of just doing the bare minimum at times. It just wasn't the same Mara that we've seen. Yeah.
I remember a couple years back, someone I didn't interview Coach, but I recall reading or somewhere that Coach said he told Dan Hunt that I want competition at every position. Well, I don't know that we have that. Especially we don't have another guy like Paxton. I don't think right back there's competition at right back. I would question the competition at keeper. I know we have that other guy who Brazilian who wasn't there, but I'm not so sure that we have good competition at every position.
Well, you know, I asked Eddie about that, about Cervania coming back. Cervania's had minutes at right back, and he's
I didn't know
likely in. That's a very interesting little wrinkle, and I asked Eddie about that in the media availability this week, and But Eddie just said, regardless, it's a competition each and every week, so he knows he's going to get better. And I don't know if that means Cervania will have competition there at right back, or Tumasi is. That was the whole idea, was that Tumasi was going to get some minutes at right back, maybe in a 3 or a 5-3-2 or whatever it is. Yeah.
I know that some people were really high on Tumasi being the starter at right back this season, because Dallas has a long history of converting wingers to right backs, and he was the next guy in line, and apparently he had been doing well, but then he had that injury that set him back for a bit, and we've yet to see him get any minutes at right back, so you got to wonder. As far as Cervenia, he has been playing right back in the Austrian Bundesliga, right back and right wing back, and he's looked really good. Surprisingly, he's at times when they've moved him there, he's been one of the best defensive players for them, which is what caught me by surprise, is that he looks really good going forward, and I would be shocked if he doesn't, when he comes back, if he doesn't get minutes at right back or gets, is given a shot. Because, when players get loaned out, usually there's an agreement as to where they're going to play. So you have to wonder the fact that they're playing him at that position in the Austrian Bundesliga. And mind you, these are important games. These guys are involved in a relegation battle, so these aren't meaningless minutes. He's being played at right back and right wing back in very important matches, and he started some games or come off the bench in others. So,
yeah. But the point I was going at is that Lucci doesn't have a big roster.
He has a lot of potential at some spots. So there's guys there that they hope will eventually begin to push. You got Vargas starting at left wing, and the hope is that Schoen will eventually start pushing him there. You got Nelson pushing Hollingshead. You're hoping that Tuamasi will push. So there's a lot of guys that they hope will, as the season progresses, will begin to push the starters, but that's not happening at this moment.
Yeah, left wing, I still is very questionable. Vargas is, as an individual in athleticism, he's got the size, he's got the speed and strength, but I've yet to see it on the soccer field, and he hasn't really made an impact yet. I understand he had a better game Saturday, but more of a off the ball kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that's it. I think we haven't seen yet the complete package from Vargas. We've certainly some positive things happening there. He's not useless or anything, but it seems like he's a longer project at times.
Vargas
and maybe
had probably one of his best matches, and I mean, he's what, 19, 20? I mean, he's still a kid too. So I think Vargas is a player that you hope is also along those lines, a player that will hopefully get better as the more he gets,
sure,
the more minutes he gets. And I was happy to see him play well this match. After actually, I think his previous he didn't play
last game. He played Saturday, but not the week before.
He played the match before, and I thought he had his worst game of the season. I thought his games have been going down. So then they set him against Minnesota, and obviously he got the message because he came out and he looked, closer to the guy we'd seen in the preseason. So I think that's
interesting. Yeah, it's just so interesting, and I think this team, Tommy, could be one of the deepest FC Dallas rosters, especially with a guy like Schoen coming as a possibility. But you got to figure out how to get these guys clicking, right? You got to figure out how to make a cohesive whole out of the parts that you have.
Right.
Yeah. So and they still
have. It's a good team. It takes time to gel. It's not like they've been playing together,
And they'll have.
But on the other hand, I think O'Brien has been an improvement over Pico, who we had. Now they're both very similar, but I find that O'Brien has better touches in the final third, and he's actually been, pretty good in the final. And I would say they both work very hard, but I really like this kid, O'Brien.
I honestly thought you were going to say Barrios, because that's the spot he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing Barrios, but he's basically the opposite, opposite side, but he looks just like Pico, right?
But the one thing that's been a struggle with Obrian, I'm glad you brought it up, is just the offsides, the offside calls. It's just kind of frustrating. And
That was the previous game, yeah.
Yeah, last game was bad. This game, he had a couple too that were just like, oh, come on, man. Like, this could have been a really crucial opportunity for the team. Could have been a go-ahead goal or a tying goal or something, and he just drifted into an offside position. So some of that may be timing and physicality and just learning the league.
But you know what, though? That's because they're trying to play him like Barrios, who's not. He's not Barrios. No. Honestly, best success has been when he's been able to take his man one-on-one, and you see him beat a couple of guys to break into that, into the box. And honestly, I think they need to make that adjustment and say, hey, this ain't Barrios. Sure, he can get to the ball, but his timing has been so bad, so many offsides, that maybe we need to just get the ball to his feet and let him work, because that's where he's really been the most dangerous, is when he's gotten the ball at his feet and then basically broken down his defender.
Yeah, a lot of head-scratching stuff, offsides and just bad substitutions and timing of players and just a lack of focus here and there on, it's just.
That's just it, though, right? New guys, you got to learn their tendencies and adjust, and hopefully we need to start seeing that. We need to start seeing that adjustment.
Well, let's get to our Coach Luchi Gonzalez clip. And I asked him, because I think if there was one ugly for me, is that if you get 15 corners in your professional soccer team, you've got to take advantage of one of those. You got to at least get one goal, right? And so the team had those chances. Some of the corners look good, some, So I asked Coach Luchi about that, about the takers and kind of how he was grading it. So here's his response from the post game.
Well, we had 2-3 takers today between Acosta, Pico, and Andres. We try to have that variation. They all hit it a different style, different way. That based on the stats, when you have 15 corners, you need to score at least one, if not two, or dead balls, which are probably more than just the 15. So we have to not be happy with that, not be satisfied with that. It's not good enough to have that many and not put them away. So it's going to take being critical this week about what our movement is and where we're placing the ball and our belief to get on the end. If we can keep creating that volume of corners, we have to reward ourselves more. So certainly not good enough in terms of the execution and the efficiency.
Short and sweet, Luchi was, but not good enough. That's the quote you need. And I appreciated his levity in that, but also acknowledging what I've come to understand more from just the the media availability and the post games is that Luchi is quite aware of the stats. FC Dallas has been, I think, is trying to improve its the stats analysis of the game, to add more flavor, to add more understanding of what's working and what's not working. So I appreciate too when he acknowledges that, if you earn that many opportunities, you got to put something away. I still think, the question mark is, who is your best corner taker? I appreciate the team wants to switch it up. I'm not sold on Brian Acosta. I know other contributors in Big D Soccer are not sold on him. Luchi thinks he can hit the ball well and he can do some things with it, which is fine. I'm sure the coach sees that. I don't want to second guess him, but I think it just doesn't quite work when he's the corner kick taker, and I think as the game drifted on,
I would agree with that.
Yes, when he took more corners, I think that's when the opportunities there were just less opportunities.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to find. You see them use different people. I think they're still trying to find that guy that's going to be, they haven't figured out who their man is. And I mean, that's a concern because he seems to roll out a different person to do the corners and whatnot every match, or at least every other match. I think they're still trying to figure out who that guy is, and we haven't narrowed that down, and that's why you have the 15 crosses and not a single goal. That's but still, I'm happy to see them going for those crosses. Eventually, hopefully, it'll start to pay off. There were certainly some close situations that they were unable to complete. And while we're talking about Acosta, Acosta still continues to be basically your best player on the field. I'm not saying he was the MVP for this match, but as far as consistently good, he continues to be the most consistently good player on the team.
I would think his muscle would be better used to be in the box on the service than serving it. It's just my 2 cents. I mean, ever since I've been going to games, we've always had one. It was always Mauro Diaz always took it. It was the best guy to take it, and it's odd to see different people taking it. It's just never been that way ever since I've been going to the game.
I think that's something we'd like someone like Paxton do once he's healthy and playing in the match. A smaller guy who you don't really want to get in there and have the other teams get cheap shots in on him. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I would get O'Brien to take the. I mean, I don't know how bad his kicks are, but being that he's such a small guy, I wouldn't want him in the box, right? I mean, so I don't know.
I think
different philosophies.
Yeah, O'Brien or Sean, one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, time will tell. Like I said, I don't think we have the right guy yet, and I think Lucci knows that. And they talked about even Eddie Munjoma has been doing supposedly taking corners in practice and whatnot. So
sometimes I think that's a little bit overkill. They're overthinking it. Just find one guy who can consistently put it in.
I think when you have that happening in practice, it means there's inconsistency there. And I think that's what it means. Is okay, we've got several guys capable of doing it, but none that are consistently doing it. So
my take on Acosta is I've seen him shoot the ball, and if it has anything to do with serving the ball, I mean, I'd rather someone else do it.
Oh, I have the video here, the Acosta miss from a couple of playoffs ago. Yeah, he shoots it to the moon. Right? Yeah, but no, I agree with you, and it definitely seems to me you'd want Acosta in a position where he could snuff out a counterattack. He was maybe lurking at the top of the box, but he was that guy who was like, all right, take the foul, do the professional foul.
Right.
Yeah. But
not to get you guys upset, but the best corner kick taker I've seen.
That would be the guy that had the Olympico. What was his name from Brazil?
No, I'm talking about right now. Now, the guy in Frisco that he's never gonna do corners for FC Dallas if things go his way is David Rodriguez. That guy.
He was good.
When he played, he was loaned to the Atletico San Luis U20s. He played so well, they brought him to the senior team. He was taking all corner kicks for those guys.
Wow.
And his placement was sensational, man. I mean, you're talking about they bring in a guy who's a U20. They start him, and they immediately have him start taking all PKs and set pieces. I was like, wow, his placement was incredible. I'm like,
I was thinking of Michelle. He was very specialized when he played for us.
You have to wonder if he's a guy that if he doesn't get now, Atletico has says they're going to buy him, but you have to wonder if they don't buy him, why would you want to leave him in North Texas, man? Sign that guy up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's close out with the show for talking about North Texas SC. Toronto FC2 is back in USL League One, and are playing their home games in Tucson because of the pandemic. Because Canada is a little more strict on their policies right now with the pandemic, which is fine, we understand. So North Texas went down to Tucson and played, and unfortunately came away with a loss, 2-1. Went behind early, equalized. Went behind early on a penalty kick.
So far,
yeah.
Every game so far, they've allowed the first goal.
Yeah, and then got a penalty kick in the first half to level it up late. They were right after each other too, and then gave up another goal and weren't able to claw their way back in. Jose, you're following them really closely. I watched most of the game. There's just a lot of positive play. It's a really dangerous team, but boy, it's a team in flux. It's just a team in flux.
So they really were hard done there by the officials. that first penalty kick that Toronto was given, the North Texas player was actually kicked in the face.
Wow.
And so the ball went up, and he basically did up, he was going to get hit square in the face, and he went up to try to block it. So it still hit him in the face, but it also touched his hand. But it was a blast right to the face. And you feel for the guy because it's a reaction. If you see that you're going to get hit square in the face, you try to shield yourself, So I felt bad for him because it's like, oh, it's not an actual position. It's not naturally get blasted in the face with a shot either. So that was a hard PK. And then they actually North Texas should have gotten another PK because there was another handball by Toronto, and they didn't call it. They didn't review it or nothing. And I was like, man, it was clearly a handball. And I was like, well, but even then, even if they hadn't gotten it, I expected this match to be either a draw. I thought they had a good chance to walk out with a draw because Toronto hadn't played in a while. But Toronto, they are very talented. So I will put that out there right now. Talent-wise, their talent level is really good. The problem is that they will be inconsistent. So there's a team that's going to beat some teams, and they're going to be maybe a 500 team, maybe worse depending on on their coaching. But they're a talented team. I mean, they're probably talent for talent just as good as North Texas as far as the talent that's available to them from their academy. They've got some really good talent this year. It's just that they're very young. And mind you, the first season when they had a really bad team, even then Toronto always gave North Texas a tough match, winning a couple of games against them.
Yeah.
So I'm disappointed, but I'm not panicking. The problem with North Texas is their back line. And they're you got Colin Smith, who's got converted from wing back from a right wing and forward to a right back. So he's learning that position right now. And then you've got two center backs that are only playing their second match together. They're pairing, and one's Para, who looks kind of shaky. In all honesty, he's a big guy, like 6'5", 6'6", but he looked kind of shaky. I'm not sure he'll be the starter for much longer. So your left back and your left center back, I forget his name, Gomez. Those two guys are great. But this is what happened last season too. Last season, people forget that North Texas started out horribly. They had the worst defense going into August. They had the worst defense in USL League One, and then they brought back they brought Monjoma in, and they brought back Evans from loan, and all of a sudden, boom, the defense is playing great, and they finished it with the third best defense, in the league. So I wouldn't panic. I know some people are complaining that the talent level may not be there, but I think unlike other teams, this team has so many more question marks across the board. We got so many players that need to be incorporated into the rotation that it's going to take Quill a lot longer to get the team gelled. They got so many new faces, and also on the road, they don't get as many FCD players. They get one player, I think Colin Smith, usually travels with a team. That's about it. When they play at home, they get 4 players, maybe 5 players.
Well, I thought Nicky Hernandez did play.
Did Hernandez play?
I think so. I thought so. I thought I heard his
I don't
name.
think she did, because it was the stars were in the midfield were Almaguer, Dos Santos, and Vinegra, I think. I don't think Hernandez started. I don't think he was there. I just remember Colin Smith being there. But I'm just saying, when they play at home in North Texas, you get Hernandez, you get Colin Smith, you get Khalil, and you get Benny. You get at least those 4 guys, And then once summer rolls around and we get the rotations figured out, they'll probably get another 1 or 2. They'll probably get up to 5 senior players at home. So they're really good at home. They struggle on the road because they have less FC players. But like I said, Quill's trying to figure out his rotation. He's not there yet. They get instant rematch, by the way. Instant rematch against Toronto in North Texas, in Frisco. So no, not Frisco. Globe Life Park.
Yeah, in Arlington.
So you'll see the difference of having a couple extra. Hernandez being there. We'll get at least one of either Khalil or Benny there, and you'll see a huge difference in how this team plays.
Well, let's close out this show with just a quick thing, and just to say, all right, FC Dallas is going up to Colorado this weekend. At Colorado, what do you all want to see from the team? A step forward, an improvement. Do you want to see the 3 points? Do you want to see a draw? Would that be an improvement for you? Or are you just not expecting much still? Tommy, what about you?
Go ahead, Tommy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say this. We don't want to see them lose for sure, but don't want to come after the game, even if they draw. I don't want to say, well, they were winning up. They were up, 1-0, and they gave a goal away, a silly goal at the end of the game, and they drew. If it's a different thing where, like, they were playing tough the whole game, the other team got a goal, but they kept fighting, no mental errors, and they scored a goal, and they tied the game, and they got a draw. I'm ecstatic because, we didn't give up anything stupid. We didn't play any mental errors. The coaches got the subs right. If you got the lead, you protect the lead. I don't want, every game thus far, there's been something where you scratch your head, like, we're not shooting, we're not getting the ball to Hara, or we're not playing defense, we're not getting a hand on the ball. It's just something to complain about every game. And I just want a game where we don't have anything to complain about. Last game was better, right? That's all we can ask for, is 100% effort, no mental errors, including the coaches. I'm not just talking the players. I want a solid lineup. I still question why we started the season with 5 in the back at home against the reserves of Portland, or whoever it was. We didn't play the big teams, right? And we're playing very defensively, and I don't know. I just do the right thing. That's all.
Yeah, well, what I don't want to see is that 3-man back line.
No.
Sorry, I don't want to see it against Colorado. I don't mind them playing a defensive game. I just want to see a competent match where at no point are we panicking, or certainly not conceding an early goal or anything like that. I don't want to see any dumb PKs. I don't want to see any yeah. As long as I don't, even if they were outshot by 20-5 or something like that. As long as I don't see any dumb plays, any gimmies, like you saw in this match. That's what I want to see. I want to see a competent professional display and hope where the team at least has a chance to walk out of there with a point at the end of the match. That's what I want to see. I want to see the team gel, basically. I want them all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I just want to see this team clean up those mistakes and make it where, Kellen has a world-class shot that goes in goal, and there's not much you can do. There's not much most keepers can do about that. But the team doesn't make it easy for their opponent. So no penalties, none of these flubbed play out of the back when playing it out of the back goes wrong kind of things, right? Or just a ricochet shot.
A sensational goal to beat you, really.
Yeah, right. Right, I'm with you on that. So yeah, I think a draw would be good. A draw would be a step forward because it builds some confidence on the road. And Colorado's always a tough place to play, but Colorado is also a very beatable team. They're a good team, well coached. I'm giving them credit. And heck, we could see Barrios do some damage against us, and you may just go okay. But I think come out and clear indicators that the team is improving, but a result. We need a result this weekend. We need to keep building.
Yeah, and furthermore, I'd like to see a real leader emerge. I mean, we kind of see that with Hollingshead, but we need somebody in the middle or up top. Someone's going to just get the other guys going if they make mistakes. If somebody makes mistakes and everybody just walks back and plays defense. No one gets in anyone's faces and leads this team. And I would like to see someone put the fire on our team to play with fire. And I think we need a leader on the field, quite honestly.
Well, hey, we had a question here late. I mean,
Sure.
DTX Antonio. Would y'all rather have Jesse Gonzalez or Jimmy Marr in goal? Of course, Jesse, rightfully
question.
exiled after a domestic violence charge. Evidently, he has moved on. I think there was rumors he was trying to get a spot out in Greece or something like that. He's still a
Actually, the
talented
word
guy.
with that is that he was in a trial basis, and he'll be joining that team once their new season kicks off. They didn't have a spot for him, so, and mind you, that's Cyprus. That's basically,
Cyprus.
it's very well known as a backdoor into getting a European passport. So it's a smart move for a player who doesn't have the international caps to get that passport.
I just hope Jesse's got his life back in order. I don't know the whole details. I've heard the story. I loved him in keeper, but I hope he gets a second chance. But I hope he turns his life around. That's the most important thing. I think that's the question asked.
I wish him well, but I think that's not even an option right now. It's basically Mar. I was always a Mar guy. I know Jesse was the more talented, the guy with a bigger upside, better everything, but he always had, to me, he always lacked what Maurer had, that leadership, that positioning, that just constant professionalism. Yes, Maurer is not the athletic and tall, big.
I just want a healthy Mar. I think that's what we want is a healthy Mar.
We do. I think that Jesse's ship has sailed. And Antonio's keeping our stream going. He says, what's y'all's prediction for this weekend, Dallas versus Colorado? So we sort of talked about what we wanted. So let's go on the record. What's our prediction? And I'm going to go a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, well, we're going up against two more FC Dallas alumni, Barrios and Kellen Acosta. And Kellen's having a good season this far. Do you guys know?
Kellen going to be there? He made a 23-man roster for the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So
I think Colorado's been better this year than they have been in the past year. So I expect FC Dallas to come out and play a tough game. I really do. I'm hoping that they improve in this last game, and I'm going to give them the nod. Unusually, I'm going to give them the nod. And I believe that they are turning it around. It's slowly turning around, and I think we saw a little bit of that on Saturday.
Well, and your prediction was?
I'm going to say, I say we get a squeaker, 2-1. We'll win 2-1.
Oh, nice. Wow. I'm going to go 0-0. I was going to go 1-1, but I'm going to go 0-0. And I would not be surprised if there's some late drama like we saw in Minnesota. But hopefully it goes our way as opposed to going Colorado's way.
Especially if Howard can get him some new cleats where he's not slipping.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Tommy LeBouf. You can follow him at Tom_FC Dallas on Twitter, and Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona on Twitter. And, of course, you can follow me, Nathan Hill, at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. Let's leave it there. We got a lot of soccer to enjoy this coming week. Hope you're well and safe. See you next Monday. And, of course, in the meanwhile, don't forget to check on BigDSoccer.com for some of your FC Dallas fix. Oh, yeah, and good night, Drogo. Good night.
Good night, Drogo. Thank you, guys. I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Always.
Thank you,
watching
Tommy.
us from my Xbox and just sitting there just chilling.